Hello everyone, we finally, after a long waiting, we have the Arkham Shadow gameplay trailer. I have been very hesitant to even talk about the game. There's multiple channels who will do a way better job at breaking down all the Easter eggs, everything, all the super in-depth nerd stuff about Arkham that even me as a massive Arkham fan don't even know. For me, I need to see a lot more of the gameplay and the actual game itself rather than just, Easter eggs and stuff. That's not really my forte. Now we finally have an actual look at the game, and it looks better than I was expecting. Obviously, the graphics are not anywhere near how they look in Arkham VR, which is a sort of downside, but in pretty much every other way, it is expanded into an entirely different realm. This seems a lot closer to an actual Arkham game where there's actual combat, predator sequences. I was actually very surprised to see, and collectibles and stuff like that you can grapple around. It's not just set points like Arkham VR. So just like they said in the Q&A, this is reminding me a lot of newer VR games, starting with like Half-Life Alyx. You could actually start to move around and do things, and it was actually more of a gameplay game. It wasn't just a point-and-click game like many VR games ended up being, such as Arkham VR. Now, I think Arkham VR is really good just because of how high quality it is, just in every aspect when it comes to the art of it, the graphics of it, the cinematic quality of it, and the directing is just insane. With Arkham VR, I'm really not expecting them to have that insane level of quality because Rocksteady is just, they're at the top of their game when it comes to AAA stuff. Even though Suicide Squad did not do well and people really did not like that game, there's still inklings of like Rocksteady's ability to do really good work in that game. The cutscenes are expertly directed, even though the actual substance of the cutscene, like the writing, isn't necessarily amazing. It's still like unbelievably shot, like a movie. It actually feels cinematic. It's not just reverse shot. Again, I don't know if this game is going to reach that quality, but I think that's not what they're really trying to do. They're not really trying to sell a super cinematic experience like Arkham VR. This is meant to be a more traditional Arkham game in which you are exploring, you are fighting in combat. It's less about the story and the atmosphere, and there is a lot of atmosphere. It's more so about the gameplay. So Matt Walker and Ryan Payton did a Q&A, and I think they're going to continue to do Q&As, and they do actually answer a lot of things. That's where we found out that the Rat King is not actually Ratcatcher, which is interesting, and I was sort of very confused and like upset about that at first, and I still kind of am because it's acting as if the Rat King is like this whole new character. Is kind of weird when it's like that's just Ratcatcher. I don't know. It's not really a new character if it's the same kind of character. We'll see. The point is, I cannot judge the story of this game if I haven't actually seen it yet. I don't actually know what the Rat King is. It seems more of like an anarchy type of character, but like Ratcatcher elements to it. One thing that Ryan said in one of these interviews is that they wanted to go less for like an Arkham City open world where you're exploring this huge open map, which I think would have been a huge demand on resources for a VR game. Nonetheless, it was a very smart idea to focus on more Arkham Asylum type of areas and dungeons. I really like Arkham Asylum for its dungeons and its variety and environments. Having a map that is smaller like Arkham Asylum allowed the developers to put an insane amount of detail in the environment that otherwise would have been super spread out. This is one thing I don't like about Lego Batman 2, for example. Like, I know I bring this up a lot, and I know Lego Batman is probably way different. It is way different. Let's be honest. It's way different than an Arkham game, and the resources Rocksteady has compared to Traveler's Tales is going to be insanely different. Lego Batman 2's open world is cool from far away. It's cool from conception, but up close, it's really bad, and there's no detail, and there's nothing going on, and it's just bland. Considering the limited resources that this meta quest obviously has based on the graphics, I think nobody should be upset about the lack of an open world. I wasn't expecting an open world, and I'm glad to hear that there's sort of like these dungeons and stuff. That's pretty cool. One thing I'm kind of confused about, though, that I don't really understand is the idea that we're going back to old Gotham again. I know this is like really, really related to Arkham Origins, and I appreciate that this truly feels like a sequel to Arkham Origins. It has so many Easter eggs and stuff. It feels like WB Montreal is making this game when they're not. It's kind of weird. But at the same time, why do we need to be having these same locations? I think I would be much more excited about this game if we were in an entirely different part of Gotham City. I'm thankful that, they're showing new parts of Blackgate, but again, it seems like a lot of the locations we're getting here are just locations from Arkham Origins. And I have a feeling that maybe they ported a lot of the assets over, and this was just a very quick way of getting in a map for the game, is just to port over the assets. I don't know if that's actually possible. I don't know what game engine they're using here. Maybe they just recreated this entire environment, but that could be a possibility. I just find it a little bit weird. Now, Jezebel Plaza is cool, so I'm not too upset about it. But again, it's just like, why are we exploring the Monarch Theater for the third time? When it comes to the gameplay, which I'm sure a lot of people are very interested in, it looks fine. It looks okay. I'm glad that it's here. I think they're doing the best they can when it comes to the limitations of VR. I am a little concerned about how they're going to deal with like motion sickness, but based on the fact that this is a actual like experience studio with VR games specifically, I don't think it will really be a huge problem. They know what they're doing. I think the most interesting thing to me is probably the Predator aspect of the game. I don't really see the combat being super duper fun. It looks kind of goofy, and I'm honestly like, what else are they gonna do if it's in VR? VR is very difficult to make gameplay out of. The Predator aspect seems a lot more interesting. It feels like there's actually going to be like a stealth element, and it actually is going to have more of a scary atmosphere to it because you're actually kind of there, and it's like your movements are Batman's movements. It's not like you're holding a controller. You are the person that needs to get the heck out of the way if someone sees you. So I think that is going to be the actual like highlight of the game, not necessarily the combat. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. In terms of characters we see in the game, it's very obvious that the studio is actually interested in the Arkham games and actually interested in not only keeping in line with the legacy of the Arkham games, but also adding in new content, new characters. So we're getting the Ratcatcher, which showed up in a Origins prequel comic. That's really cool. And I've always wanted to see the Ratcatcher. I might actually be using the Ratcatcher in one of my hypotheticals, so follow the channel for that. Always love to see Ratcatcher. I hope Ratcatcher isn't just in a cell, but if he is, I mean, he looks cool. He looks great. That's awesome. Rat King, I hope, is kind of interesting. It seems like Rat King is just sort of anarchy, but rat themed, so we'll have to see about that, even though anarchy exists and it was literally introduced in Arkham Origins. I don't know. Maybe it is anarchy actually that is the Rat King. That's my hypothesis. I've actually been reading a lot of anarchy comics recently to prepare for videos, so don't mind my like obsession with anarchy right now. They're also bringing in characters like Lockup, which I think I've scrolled past his name in like databases before, but again, I'm not a super huge nerd when it comes to these like super duper small characters, unless they're like, I don't know, Killer Moth or the Merrymaker or something. A lot of these characters, I'm scrolling past them, okay? It's interesting to see Lockup. It's also interesting to see that Tiger exists before Arkham City. I like that world building because it kind of makes a lot of sense that Tiger was actually a part of the city. They're sort of it's like a security company, I guess. So it makes a lot of sense that they would hire the same security company for Arkham City, but it became like this radical group. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. It's actually pretty cool. We also get to see the ventriloquist. That was awesome. The Scarface looks a little different to like what I would expect, but I'm so glad that we have the ventriloquist finally. And we also get like Harleen Quinzel. Maybe we'll get more of her character and how she's kind of slowly evolving into Harley Quinn, and she might already be Harley Quinn actually. This is kind of giving me like Jester vibes, like from Caped Crusaders, where she's kind of like a double agent, I guess. And there actually is like a Jester Easter egg on the whiteboard, I believe. believe. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe she becomes Harley Quinn at the end of the game. That's cool. It also seems like there's boss fights just based off of Lockup. Barbara Gordon shows up as well. Just all around, there's lots of good stuff here. I'm actually quite surprised. It seems like there's also some detective work at play, Arkham VR style. I think that was the coolest aspect of Arkham VR, was actually doing detective work. You can pick up little objects, like in the trailer, Batman picks up a little like Rat King mask, or just, I guess it's just one of the rats mask. And I'm hoping that there's actually like more to this, and there's actual detective scenes to the level of Arkham VR, because I feel like in terms of VR, that is like that lends itself to VR, is doing like little detective work like that. I know some people struggled like with the technology where like it wasn't really doing what they wanted. Like I remember that safe in Arkham VR, people are having so much trouble with that. But I still think it really lends it to that, and I'm hoping there's more detective stuff in the game. What I'm most interested in for this game has to be the story. The gameplay looks cool, and I think the environments could be interesting if it's not just stuff we've already seen and assets we've already seen. I'm hoping it's more than just that. I mean, there are some new areas, of course, like in Blackgate, there's like this whole new area, kind of looks like the botanical gardens from Arkham Asylum. So that's interesting. There's like a sewer section. That's interesting. But I'm mostly interested in the story, because I kind of want to know who Rat King is. I have a suspicion it's Anarchy, because the rhetoric Rat King is using is a lot like Anarchy. And I'm looking forward to seeing like what they do with the story and what it might say about Batman and all that stuff. It feels like a really good connection point between Arkham Origins and Arkham Asylum, and I hope they're actually going to flesh that out and have a lot of details. It seems like they're already super interested in Easter eggs, so clearly these developers actually care a lot, and I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be the person that's going to be covering this game to an insane degree. I kind of want to move away from topic content. I think it's just a huge like battle. It's this like, I don't know, we're all fighting each other to have the first video out about all the Easter eggs in a trailer or something, and it's not something that I'm interested in, and it's not something I want to do. It's kind of stressful where you have to watch the trailer immediately. I'm actually like 2 hours late to the trailer. I just don't really like doing that, and everyone else is going to make better versions of that. I'm just not interested in like looking at every little small detail in a trailer. It was fun as like a teenager, but now I'm more interested in overall topics, overall like discussions of art and like video essays and stuff. And I'm doing a lot of hypotheticals on my channel. I want to do more creative stuff. I want to look at things from a more macro scale than like little, details and stuff. I want to look at it in that sense,